Hello, and welcome to the Path of Exile teaser roundup, where I'm going over 3 teasers that we got from the weekend. Alright, I know this is a bit late, and I do apologize, but over the weekend, I was working on some rather large projects, like my top 10 builds and top 3 off-meta starters. Check out both of those videos after this if you're interested in what I was working on, or get subscribed if you want to see more stuff, including an ARPG news wrap-up that will come towards the end of the week, or maybe on Monday after the PoE League. For now, though, let's catch up with what I missed. First up, we've got 3 of the tattoos you're going to be able to win by competing in Trial of the Ancestors. And let's zoom in a bit because the text gets a bit small. So, Tattoo of the Tukohama Shaman replaces a small passive strength skill with 15 life regenerated per second. If you can get these early, that's absolutely insane for leveling something like RF. You'll get a ton of regen without very much effort. And because your health pool at lower levels is so small, 15 flat life regenerated per second is pretty darn insane. We've also found out something interesting from this picture of the tattoos. There's going to be 10 different ones, and they have some very powerful effects even on basic tattoos. The life regen is absolutely the weakest of the 3 shown. Moving on, we've got Tattoo of the Hinekora Death Warden. 6% reduced effective curses on you. So you can get to 100% reduced effective curses on you, thus effectively becoming curse immune. There is a slight difference there. Reduced effect means you can still be cursed, so if anything causes you to benefit from the cursed status, you're able to do so without any issue. It's not true immunity. And anything that has curse effect will still be able to curse you even at 100%, because let's just say 130 minus 100, 30%, so the curse would be 30% effective. In most cases though, especially when you're mapping, this isn't going to be an issue, making Tattoo of Hinekora Death Warden very good, because you're often left just a little bit short of capping out your curse reduction. Last up, we've got Tattoo of the Tawoa, I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm sure that's wrong, correct me in the comments, Herbalist. 6% increased flask effect duration. So if you like Word Loop, that's great. If you want it to be the Pathfinder we have at home, that's great. It is genuinely one of the strongest tattoo effects I've seen so far, and because it's a basic tattoo, you're limited to 50 of them. You'll lose a little accuracy and evasion converting over your dex nodes, but for anything like a Deadeye, even a champion going over to the right side of a tree, oh man, that is an insanely powerful effect. Having more flask uptime not only lets you do things like cap your resistances with a Bismuth Flask, it's also extremely useful for keeping powerful effects like Dying Sun or Oloroth's Resolve up for longer. Now, you will need some source of flask charge generation to truly min-max this, but if you get that, even if it's just killing enemies in your maps, then you'll have a really powerful build, and I think with this tattoo specifically, you can stack enough of them that you're going to be able to have 100% uptime on a Bismuth Flask for pretty much any build, any circumstance. The cool thing about that, again, you will need some source of flask charge gen, like flask charge on crit, gain flask charges over time, etc. But if you have that, 100% uptime, which means you can use it to cap your resistances, allowing you to run a lot more damage on gear. Then we've got some of the gear you'll use to equip your warriors in Trial of the Ancestors. Most likely this does not work outside of a trial itself, so don't get too excited about some of these powerful effects. I would also imagine not all of it's going to be unique, and we're seeing some of the strongest options available. Lightning Rod. Defender teammates gain a power, frenzy, or endurance charge every second. Now I don't know if this has a class restriction or not, but it will cause your defenders to gain charges, making them tankier and increasing their damage. I don't know exactly what value charges will have, if it will be normal scaling or additional scaling. However, it's always generally good to have charges. You get extra crit, extra damage, extra speed, and extra defenses. The more interesting one is Dying Roar. 50% increased time to revive, explode on death, dealing 100% of maximum life as fire damage. That's really, really strong. Now, depending on how much life your warriors have, that's really strong, and it kind of leans into the whole cast on death meme. There's a mechanic in Trial of the Ancestors whereby you respawn at a totem, so death is not the end. Death is merely the beginning of a round. Therefore, Dying Roar could be a great way to utilize a very tanky, high-health defender, have them explode in the middle of the enemy pack, and then they just respawn a little bit later. Though you will be especially vulnerable during that longer respawn time. I don't know if the respawn timer is going to be a few seconds and then scaling up, or if it's going to start at like 10 or 15 seconds, in which case this is definitely going to come with a significant downside. However, one thing's for certain, there's going to be big booms and someone's probably going to make it ignite since it's base fire damage. Unfortunately, because this is on a warrior, you don't really have access to skill gems or all of a regular scaling, which will make this kind of limited. It's as good as it is based on the character, and you probably can't do much else. Though who knows, maybe you won't be able to just equip one thing, but 5 or 6, and you'll kind of put together an Ignite Exploition Death build. Last up though is Queen's Inspiration. You and nearby allies have Tailwind. I'm assuming this one goes on you rather than on your other warriors, though I could be wrong. That could just go on the warriors themselves, but it's Tailwind, 8% action speed, up 100% of the time. That's pretty darn good. And it'll help you position better, move around the battlefield, deal a little bit more damage. But most interestingly, GGG also talked about the 2 new minions coming to Guardian. I think that Sentinel of Radiance is a bit gimmicky, probably not the strongest, and Summon Elemental Relic is absolutely insane. So let's start with a weaker one. Summons a Sentinel of Radiance, which follows you and attacks enemies with melee. It also burns enemies around it, and takes a portion of damage from hits for you. But you can only have 1 Sentinel of Radiance, which already limits its utility by quite a bit, unfortunately. I was hoping you'd be able to summon 2 or 3 of these guys. The minion deals fire damage equal to 30% of its maximum life per second to enemies in a base radius of 30. That radius is quite solid and can expand to cover most of a screen. 30% of life is pretty decent. Unfortunately, you don't have any way to support this. It's not a gem, so it doesn't get linked to anything. And usually, if you want a non-linked thing to do damage, it needs to be truly insane. I don't think this meets the bar for that. Minion has a 100% chance to taunt on hit. That's good. Great utility to keep things off of you. And it takes 10% of damage from hits before you. This is very much a tank, and in that regard, it's a pretty good tank. But unfortunately, the damage component is, well, rather lacking. I don't know that it's going to do very much, and it's ridiculously difficult to scale. What's way more interesting is the Summon Elemental Relic. You can summon a Fire Relic, Cold Relic, or Lightning Relic, each of which provides their respective aura at level 28. So that's a level 28 Hatred, Anger, and Wrath. If you've ever wanted an Aura bot, but don't actually have one, now you can be a Guardian, and Aura bots are no longer required. Or if you're looking for a 0 gear support character, Guardian is looking insane between this and the Link support. Now, minions do explode on death, dealing 100% of their maximum life as damage of their chosen element, which means there could be some sort of Summon Elemental Relic pop, though you won't really be able to put a blessing on them to pop it, and I don't know how you're going to kill them, since again, most of the ways you would kill a minion are by support gems or items that don't affect an ascendancy. That could just be a weird gimmick that never gets utilized. On the other hand, the auras are great, and I think this adds a lot of utility in a way that PoE was really lacking, because supporting characters required quite a bit of investment to truly shine. Sure, you could get the scuffed Day 1 aura bot up, but this feels a lot stronger than that. Using a link, you can help transfer crit or defenses to your carry, you're lowering enemy resistances, and you're providing Hatred, Wrath, and Anger completely for free. The only downside is the top end scaling, you don't get a bunch of aura effect, so it's not going to be as powerful as a fully geared aura bot, which I think is a perfectly fair trade-off to make. So I'm not going to rush out and play a Guardian myself. Since the playstyle doesn't really appeal to me, I do think these are strong changes and people will find value out of them. If you want to catch up on more of the news, you can look at all of my other videos that have come out recently, talking about the spoiler season and some changes that I'm looking forward to. Or if you prefer reading to watching, then read all about it over at Maxwell GG. If you're looking for something else to watch, I have a recommendation on screen right now, or you can catch up with my top 10 league starters, top 3 off-meta league starters, and my experiences playing RF Jug and Wave of Conviction Ignite Elementalist as a league starter in previous leagues. Or if you want my opinion on why games should be shorter and possibly more expensive, check out my second channel where that video just dropped. Link to that will be up in the card and down in the description below. Now before I go, a special thanks to my patrons and channel members for the continued support. You can see the names of some of these fine folks flying by over to my left. But that's all for me today. Thanks again for watching, hope your league start goes well, and I'll see you again sometime soon.